Emergency crews are being kept busy as extreme weather returns to fan bushfires burning across the country. There are blazes in South Australia, New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia, testing exhausted firefighters on the front lines. The situation right now, Victoria is under 6 emergency warnings and 1 warning has been issued for a blaze in New South Wales. Today, high temperatures and strong winds have swept several states. In New South Wales, authorities warn the weather could cause erratic fire behaviour. There are total fire bans in 10 regions. Temperatures reached 48 degrees Celsius in central New South Wales. In Victoria, the state of disaster has been extended into the weekend. Victoria's east and northeast is under bushfire threat as dozens of fires burn across the state. 6 emergency warnings are in place, 5 in the East Gippsland Region and 1 in the state's Alpine region. There are also 3 evacuate nows in place. A cool change has brought rain and wind to Melbourne. Those winds are expected to worsen conditions this evening and overnight.
The state's dry. It's really dry. What we're going to see today is we're actually going to see northerly winds, so 40 to 50 kilometres an hour. We're going to see some really strong, squally southwesterly winds on the change, gusting up to 90 kilometres an hour in some parts of the state. So it's going to be a challenging day for us here in Victoria.
Residents in the areas under threat are urged to stay on top of bushfire warnings by downloading the Vic Emergency app or by going to their website www.emergency.vic.gov.au. Gabriella Power has this report from Bright, where Army reservists are knocking on doors telling residents to leave.
Army reservists are working with Victoria Police, knocking on doors, telling people to leave now. The ADF is warning residents in Harrietville the closest bushfire is just kilometres away. They're taking down names and numbers and marking homes with people still in them. Despite the evacuation order, some people are choosing to stay and defend their properties.
And we left last time, ended up all the way in Adelaide. But, in Adelaide, yeah, because that's our closest family. Right. So went over there and then you sit around there getting towy. Oh, there's always a worry, you know. Fire's fire, you know. Even though this is our 4th one in 15 years and have done burn backs, you don't get complacent.
Got a car pack here with a few essentials and stuff like that. Yeah. Ready to go if we need to.
Yeah. Where will you go?
Look, it all depends on the fire and what it does kind of thing. Who knows? I mean, that way's not possible up towards Hotham. Heading that way depends on what the fire does, if it jumps the road early. So, yeah. It's the best thing to stay down here and, yeah, ride it out.
The CFA wasn't told the Army was arriving today, but says it was a welcome surprise.
They're just here to lend a hand, and I think it's wonderful. We unfortunately don't have a great deal for them to do at the moment, but it's just great that they're coming out and offering their support. If your plan is to stay and defend, be prepared to do that, and keep an eye on your surroundings and take care, look out for each other. You know, we don't need to have anyone getting hurt. I think we certainly need to be concerned that the amount of warm days we've had and the very little rain, to have fires that normally for us we would be prime for sort of February, March, to have them, December, early January is, wow, it's certainly something to be mindful of.
Firefighters are battling blazes in challenging conditions. Temperatures have soared into the high 30s and wind gusts of up to 70 kilometres an hour have been recorded in the Alpine regions. There are fears the multiple fires burning there will merge with fires burning in East Gippsland.
To New South Wales, where a firefighter has been injured while battling a blaze which has broken containment lines near Cooma. We go live now to Eliza Edwards at Shannon's Flat. Eliza, what do we know about the man who's been injured?
Well, Christy, we know that he's been brought here to the RFS shed at Shannon's Flat and that paramedics are on their way to treat him. We're not quite sure of his injuries yet or which brigade he's from, so we'll bring you more updates as we hear them. But the conditions on the fire front here behind me, the Adaminaby complex fire, you can't see it because of all the smoke around me now, but it is just over these hills behind me. The conditions are incredibly tough for firefighters right now and they're fighting to gain the upper hand. The blaze has broken containment lines in some areas and there are also concerns that embers could spark spot fires in the nearby town of Adaminaby itself, where most residents have heeded the warnings to leave, but some have stayed behind to defend the local community.
If this wind picks up like they're expecting it to and the heat comes like it's meant to, sort of either fire's got a spot and come through town or They got to get attacked pretty hard with them.
We haven't unpacked our bags from last week. We're ready to go if we need to. But yeah, like I say, you just got to keep it as normal as you can.
Still buckets full of water, bathtubs are full of water still. Kids and dogs are already gone. So I think just done a bit more trimming of trees and just cleaning up, I think we'll be all right.
Christy, a lot of defensive work has been done today also to protect the ski fields, the ski resorts at Thredbo, Perisher and Charlotte's Pass as well. There are concerns that the fires could threaten those that infrastructure, and the RFS Deputy Commissioner Rob Rogers says it's important that they've conducted fire retardant drops on that area today to try to protect that crucial infrastructure.
Most of our concern today is going to be in the southern part of the state, particularly around that Snowy Mountains, Tumut area. That's where the peak of the weather will be, very strong winds, low humidity and high temperatures. So we're quite concerned about that and some of the towns in those general areas.
And Eliza, an emergency warning has just been issued for a blaze in northwestern New South Wales.
Yeah, that's right, Christy. It's the first emergency warning of the day, and it's for a fire burning at Bugaldi near Coonabarabran, but that's between Dubbo and Narrabri. So residents there told to leave if they can. And so that's the first emergency warning for the day. So crews fighting that fire at Bugaldi near Coonabarabran. Christy?
Thanks for the update, Eliza. We'll check in with you again shortly. The New South Wales Rural Fire Service has confirmed nearly 2,000 homes have been destroyed this season. Stella Todorovic has the details.
A return to dangerous conditions, temperatures soaring, winds picking up, all eyes on southern New South Wales.
No immediate threat to property or livelihoods at the moment, but certainly the potential to spread.
It's a pattern authorities have become familiar with, a brief reprieve before the danger spikes again.
In essence, we know it's going to be a long and difficult day and night.
A severe to extreme fire danger rating has been issued, and there are fears more lives and homes could be at risk. And in times of crisis, the fire chief adamant it's all hands on deck.
We've got the ADF, all the different arms of the ADF working with us, and I bumped into some of them yesterday. So they're doing everything from logistics, welfare support, right through to specialist operations with aircraft. We've got machinery on the ground. We've got medical teams. There's a whole raft of things that are being well and truly integrated into state-based resources, contracted resources, the fire and emergency services. So everyone is doing their part in this very cohesive and coordinated firefighting and fire response and recovery effort.
As crews and residents face another dangerous day and night, it's been confirmed 1,079 homes have been lost since New Year's Eve. The total for the season nearing 2,000. So far this bushfire season, 20 people have been killed and more than 5 million hectares razed. Stella Todorovic, Sky News, Sydney.
As South Australia endures its worst fire season, its country fire chief says it's lucky more people haven't been killed. No lives were lost in Thursday night's flare-up on Kangaroo Island, the same place where 2 men died less than a week ago.
Fire authorities breathing a sigh of relief. No lives lost and no one reported missing when a fire emergency again took hold on Kangaroo Island. Impact assessment teams are counting the damage to property.
Come on, off. Burn and off, will you?
It's believed some homes have been lost on the south coast, but it could have been worse.
Thankfully, there was not the damage that was once thought could have happened through Vivon Bay. I'd like to take this chance too to acknowledge the planning and the resilience of the people on the island to actually evacuate out of Vivon Bay to make sure that was the case.
Several firefighters suffered minor injuries in the blaze. 2 trucks were damaged. Much of the island was evacuated to Kingscote or Penyshaw as conditions flared. Fire spread to the outskirts of Kingscote throughout the night. Its airfield was evacuated, but the threat has since eased.
The fires were burning between Kingscote Airport and Kingscote, but the changing conditions should allow the crews to be successful in reducing spread. They will not be extinguished today. I would not want anyone to take false hope from that. This is an ongoing and lengthy fire operation.
Kangaroo Island Wildlife Park was spared, fire racing to within a kilometre of the property. Its owners stayed to defend the 700 injured animals in their care. The island is resuming its recovery effort. The Defence Force was called on to help when 2 men were killed and 56 homes were lost last Friday. A focus remains on restoring power and drinking water across the island. SA Health is now warning of the impact of the smoke.
It reduces our air quality and it can really impact people's health. Particularly vulnerable people are those with already have lung conditions such as asthma, emphysema, bronchitis, but also cardiac conditions. If it's smoky outside, please try to stay indoors as much as possible.
The fire danger eased on Friday as temperatures dropped. Authorities expect their biggest reprieve in recent days. Emily Burley, Sky News.
An out-of-control bushfire that threatened lives and homes in Perth's southern suburbs has been downgraded. The threat is far from over, though, as fire crews face challenging wind conditions.
This is one of the many roads expected to remain closed for much of today as fire crews work to keep the blaze near Baldivis contained. 180 firefighters are on the ground strengthening containment lines, which crews spent all night building up. The blaze was downgraded to a watch and act level in the early hours of this morning, but local residents are reportedly not allowed back to their homes just yet because of the changing wind conditions, which made battling this fire so difficult overnight. Lives and homes were under threat when the blaze first flared up around midday yesterday. The fire has since burned through more than 1,200 hectares of land. So far, there hasn't been any reports of damage to homes.
There's word that one shed has been damaged and that's all. I mean, we will have fences, I'm sure of that, but that's why we've sent the USAR team out to give us an assessment.
An evacuation centre in Rockingham, just south of the blaze, is expected to remain open today, housing residents who chose to flee the flames.
To make it easier for the firefighters, please stay out of the fire ground because things can change very quickly.
Authorities believe the cause of the fire was accidental. Residents are being told to keep up to date with emergency warnings as the fire situation may change at any time.
The air highway has reopened in Western Australia's Goldfields 12 days after it was closed because of a bushfire. The highway is the only sealed road connecting WA to South Australia, leaving trucks and travellers stranded on either side of the border. Authorities have also reopened the Coolgardie-Esperance Highway, closed because of the same fire. The Prime Minister says Australians are looking for a holistic review into the bushfires as he flags establishing a royal commission. Labor is broadly supportive but insists the PM must act on the inquiry's findings.
Opening the door for a royal commission into the bushfire crisis.
But I think Australians, because of the scale of this particular disaster, will be looking for something more holistic.
While the scope of the inquiry isn't clear, the PM has indicated it could look into hazard reduction burns and climate change.
We'll be working closely with state and territory authorities on how they're undertaken.
Mr Morrison flagged an inquiry during a phone hookup with MPs, but stressed it's something to consider down the track. It would need support from the states, but the PM confirms he hasn't held formal discussions.
We all have our responsibilities, but I do think there's merit in making sure that through consultation with the states and territories that all the relevant issues that need to be looked at here.
States have not ruled out backing a national inquiry once the fire season ends.
Oh, look, we're open to what the federal government would suggest in terms of what they want to do.
And most importantly, we owe it to those that have lost loved ones to make sure we reflect on this season, the preparations, the actions, the integrations. We will need to ensure that we learn all lessons available.
The PM continues to be peppered with questions about climate change and whether he believes community sentiment has shifted.
I accept that community sentiment today, when we've got severe and extreme fire conditions in New South Wales and in Victoria, would have me absolutely 100% focused on ensuring the response effort that may have to roll in within the next 24 hours is ready to go.
The Labor leader also supports a national inquiry in some form, but says the government must commit to taking action.
We need to take any recommendations and act on them. I think that's a critical thing.
The Greens, who have been leading the charge for a royal commission, want the terms of reference extended to looking at the government's failures to listen to advice from the experts. The Prime Minister clearly wants the focus to remain on the current bushfire emergency, but he has also now clearly laid out the markers for a more holistic inquiry once the bushfire season is over. Trudy McIntosh, Sky News, Canberra.
The New South Wales Deputy RFS Commissioner has also backed an inquiry into the fire crisis.
If what we're seeing this year is going to be obviously what potentially we're going to be seeing going forward, then of course we have to look and the lessons from this season, given it's been unprecedented at the length of the season, you know, and obviously the ferocity and how many properties have been lost. Of course, it's appropriate that we look at that and really look and say, is there anything better we could do going forward, considering what we've now experienced? So, I mean, we're obligated to do that, and I think the community would be very concerned if we didn't do that.
Opposition leader Anthony Albanese has called on the Prime Minister to urge the United States to lift its travel warnings for Australia. The US is warning its citizens to exercise increased caution when travelling to Australia in response to the ongoing bushfire crisis. Mr Albanese says that warning is inappropriate and could be an economic blow to fire-affected businesses and communities.
The Australian government should contact our counterparts in the US and ask for a revision of those assessments, because quite frankly they are inaccurate. Australia still is open for business, and that's critical in terms of minimising what will be a devastating economic impact on top of the quite catastrophic human impact that we've seen from these bushfires.